Former flat earthers, what made you realize the earth is, in fact, not flat? I have an acquaintance I met in the Navy, who joined specifically so he could see that the earth was flat while at sea. Every day he would chart the ship's location, speed, heading, etc. a few times a day so he could make a map of their path. Ultimately he realized that the path the ship was taking would be impossible if the earth was flat, based on the distance they were traveling versus their speed. When he finally got skeptical of the earth being flat, his LPO went topside with him and pointed out the curvature by giving him binoculars and explaining that if the earth was flat, he should be able to see the land they were making for. He couldn't see anything off the horizon. After that, he was convinced. He didn't just take a cruise because he was convinced that if he wasn't part of the crew, the bridge crew would lie to him since they would be paid off by the government. Also, his LPO tried to show him the curvature of the earth more than once, but until he realized that the ship couldn't travel the way it was traveling if the earth was flat, he was convinced that the curvature was just an illusion. Dude ended up re-enlisting and is still in the Navy. He is a very successful machinist mate and a really good sailor. He now believes the earth is a globe. I'm stuck on the guy joining the Navy to specifically observe the earth being flat. Whatever you want to say about the guy, that's serious commitment. I wasn't entirely a flat earther, but when I was younger, I was falling for everything I could find on the internet. Hollow earth, flat earth, we're actually inside the hollow earth etc. I fell in and out of the belief over time until I saw video of an experiment where one group flew a helicopter far out over the ocean and another group watched it with a powerful telescope as it slowly lowered to the horizon. It disappeared behind the horizon while the helicopter was still a considerable distance from the ground. That ended that phase for me for good. I doubt you'll find many, if any, reformed flat earthers. For people like that who are so entrenched within their ideology, the flat earth isn't just something they believe, it's who they are. They have flat earth friends, listen to flat earth podcasts, watch flat earth YouTube, and wear flat earth clothes to their flat earth meetings. Even if deep down, someone like that had an epiphany and realized that they were wrong, imagine how hard it would be to reject all of these relationships, the community, and the friends that are held together because of that one common belief. It's similar to why it's so hard for people to leave cults or extremist religious or political groups. Geez, that resonated with me so deeply, as someone who left a cult-like religion. Didn't flat earthers do experiments to prove their point that ended up disproving it, then of course continued believing what they wanted to anyway? In the immortal words of Real Housewives star Bethany Frankel, it's not about what it's about. I don't think it's really about the earth being flat. I think it's about something deeper, like questioning deeply held beliefs or distrusting society something. As someone who entertained but never genuinely believed the idea and went pretty deep down the rabbit hole, its distance time on a flat earth map, circling the North Pole should be an extremely short trip while circling the South Pole would be the longest route on the planet. The further south you get, the further apart things should be and the longer trips would take. The flat earth map really falls apart there. Once they start arguing that time works differently based on location, you know there's no way to justify the argument. Okay, I get it, time works differently in different locations sometimes, but every one of you suckers that pointed that out knows it doesn't apply to my example enough to explain things. I think my favorite recorded flat earther interaction was when Elon Musk tweeted at the Flat Earth Society and asked them why they believed the earth was flat when we could plainly see that Mars is round. They responded that unlike the earth, Mars has been observed to be round. I got a tattoo about a year ago. The guy was highly rated in tattoo and his photorealistic style was exactly what I was looking for to commemorate my mother's passing 20 years prior. While he is setting up, he puts on the TV and the first thing that comes on is a YouTube channel about flat earth theories. What followed was the wildest 4 hours I have ever had, strapped into a chair with a man going at my arm with a device that stabs my skin hundreds of times per second. What was craziest about him was he had his pilot's license. He flies an airplane. When he goes up, he can clearly see the curvature of the earth. As he explained everything though, it kind of made sense why he would believe it. I can't remember specifics, but I came to realize that all his points would make perfect sense if you were applying them to making 3-dimensional art on a 2-dimensional plane. It was pretty fascinating. The tattoo ended up pretty sick, too. He gave me a discount at the end because I guess no one actually listens to his rants patiently. The tattoo artist was the flat earther. I have only ever been in an airplane twice in my life and I barely remember either. As he explained everything though, it kind of made sense why he would believe it. A lot of conspiracy theories are this way. On its surface, many of the arguments have at least a sliver of logic to them. However, as soon as you start applying any sort of scientific testing, or even just critical thinking for a lot of them, they start falling apart quickly. Hey, something I can finally answer. Not me, but my good friend and roommate fell into the flat earth black hole while in university. It started out as a joke, but then he just fell into it more and more. Eventually I challenged him to do an experiment to figure it out ourselves. We went to opposite ends of a big inlet bay. He had calculated the supposed curvature of the earth and figured out that from the distance between us, me at one end and him at the other, we should have a few meters of water between us. We both took some powerful green lasers that he had smuggled back from China in years past. While on the phone I would shine my laser somewhat into the air, watching to avoid planes and helicopters. Then now that he could see me, he would shine his laser up into the sky and slowly lower it until it disappears, or just me. If it hit me, the earth was possibly flat. Well, it disappeared 3 or so meters above my head every time. He accepted it and we moved on, besides a brief time where he thought it was refracted from the water. I've seen so many videos of flat earthers doing these experiments and then just not able to accept the results. You can see their brains break. My mother was always getting into crazy conspiracies, and one time she discovered the flat earth theory. She introduced me to it, and I was skeptical at first, but then I tentatively gave it a chance. The videos she showed me were very convincing, using some real science to explain phenomena we see on the earth could happen if it were flat, such as atmospheric refraction causing the sun to disappear beyond the horizon. But I never fully accepted the theory, since I had a relatively good grasp of astronomy and didn't see how some effects could happen on a flat earth. For example, we know there are 2 hemispheres of stars that can be observed from the earth, in the northern and southern sky. It's been well documented throughout history. But if the earth is flat, wouldn't we see only one hemisphere of stars from any point on the earth? And then there was some complete nonsense like the moon producing its own light, despite having visible shadows in craters. By asking these questions, my mom eventually realized that the flat earth theory made no sense. My mindset when approaching the theory was we can make observations about how things behave, and come up with different explanations for what causes them. So let's compare the flat and globe earth theories and see which holds up better. We both came to the conclusion that the flat earth doesn't adequately explain many of the things we observe on earth. And several weeks later she ended up watching videos by an airline pilot who debunks the flat earth theory, and showed a few to me. Deep down, I think she also had an understanding of how the solar system works, since she used to teach science and math as an elementary school teacher. I even have a model of the solar system we made when I was a kid. So letting go of the flat earth theory was probably easier for her than some who don't know about moon phases or the tilt of the earth, or anything like that. Many flat earthers just lack basic knowledge to begin with, and the flat earth theory fills the void for them. My ex-husband is a flat earther. Literally nothing you can say to him will make him think otherwise, including that dang 15-degree drift. He acknowledges that he doesn't think like everybody else but insists that everybody else is wrong. I can't tell you the countless hours that I wasted in YouTube rabbit holes with him explaining the logistical ways the earth is flat, and that there is an ice wall encapsulating us to prevent the oceans from pouring over. They are a different breed of people. He has had a court-appointed mental evaluation, but refused to get any more help. He has not been diagnosed with any kind of schizophrenia, but I'm almost positive he does have it. Also, to everybody telling me how patient I am, I wish you were right. I gave up eventually, because there was no winning. I sometimes wonder if I had pushed harder if he would have snapped out of it, but I know deep down he won't. I'm trying to keep up with comments, but there's a lot and I have 3 young ones. Yikes, I honestly couldn't have married my wife if she didn't believe in science. I'm not a flat earther, but my ex was. He believed all conspiracy theories, no matter what evidence I showed him. My ex made me watch an hour-long documentary in which in the last 3 minutes the man said the world is in fact a Mobius strip and that's why no one falls off. I just looked at him after that documentary and could not take him seriously. We broke up soon afterwards. Finally a question perfect for me. I became a flat earther for quite a long time and it was still surprising that I realized that flat earthers is just straight up stupid. Because for me, the fact that we see the earth flat is because it's an illusion of our eyes. And yes, I became a globe earther again and believed in the moon landing again. When I was 5 I thought the world was infinite like Minecraft and where I could not see past. I just thought the chunks were still loading. Same. It was pretty sad when I discovered the truth. I know 4 flat earthers personally and know that they have other believers in their respective families. Nothing thus far has been able to convince them otherwise. One of them is a magnet, bioenergy, healer, and another sells essential oils. Somebody has to sell them. They're essential. I realized that it would be impossible for giant turtles to hold the earth if it were flat. It would just fall off. Therefore it's not possible. You forgot the elephants, dude. The earth is actually flat. I know this because my dad fell off the edge of earth and that's why he never came home from the gas station. So that's where mine went. I thought he was just cheating again, silly me. I thought the flat earth theory was a joke that everyone was in on, and when I realized that people were serious I just stopped. My husband got trapped in a YouTube black hole of flat earth videos for a while. Drove me up a wall. As of recently I discovered he changed his mind. His reasoning? He discovered the majority of flat earthers are Trumpers with extreme political views and who agree with Trump's stupid logic. Husband's flat earth ideas died that day. I wish it were that easy. My former roommates were semi-flat earthers, saying things like, well, it could be true. They've now progressed to full-blown QAnon, adrenochrome. Trump was sent to save us all from the cabal of elitists, like Ellen DeGeneres, that trade children for torture. I wish I were kidding. Round about the time I was at the roundabout, I remember thinking, roundness is not just on the roundabout but about being round. Having rounded down my choices and choosing the round earth, I instantly felt like a more rounded individual. A round of applause for this comment. I think for flat earthers it is less about proving the world is flat but more about to prove that there is a god. And in a certain way I get that you won't let this go. So in the end facts do not matter. I guess you could shoot a flat earther to the moon and they would still find a way to explain that this was just a simulation or whatever. I used to think that. Recently a family member has come out as flat earther. This is an atheist, or at least non-conformist with spirituality. That's what made me wonder again about why people would willfully suspend their acceptance of reality, and how they come back to reality on this topic. Here's what has always confused me about flat earth. Who is the villain? Every conspiracy theory has a villain. Some person or people who gain money and or power from keeping the lie alive. Who gains money and or power by making us think the earth is round when it's really flat. There is something like a mental disorder about this. I saw a video about this once. It's like the Matrix. They wanna believe they are Neo. They are awake, trying to prove to everyone that everything is a lie. That they are so smart they can see it but everyone else is not. They wanna be the heroes of the story and so on. Which drives them into delusions and everything they see or hear seems fake to them. So they end up being the sleep people watching us from the opposite side. Like there is a video of a guy trying to prove there is no globe, and in the progress he just proves it is. And he just sit there wondering what is going on. Like he probably thinks the light he used to test it is manipulated or touched, like the famous GoPro jump where they think the wide mode on GoPro was created so the earth will look round. Not a flat earther, but I wanted to say that the first picture of the earth taken from space was taken before Photoshop was even invented. There is a flight from Santiago, Chile, to somewhere in Australia. On the flat earth it is impossible to fly this route without stopping. Yet, there are several videos of people flying this route. You only need one thing to disprove your theory, and yeah, that changed my mind. People still called all the videos of this flight fake and stuff SMH. I thought oceans were a myth. Sort of. When I was a kid the largest body of water was a river I could swim across. When I eventually say the Pacific Ocean for the first time it scared the crap out of me. When I was about 4 or 5, my papa explained, after dark, how the moon orbits the earth and together they orbit the sun. Papa used a baseball and a basketball for the earth and moon and his recliner was the sun. It was a memorable explanation that unveiled many things to me, like way the days are 24 hours and a year is about 365 days divided into 4 seasons and 12 months. In first or second grade it was discussed how explorers sailed around the globe. TBH, I never heard about flat earthers until a little while ago and I put them at the same level of intelligence as anti-vaxxers. I'm not a flat earther, but I think it truly hit me the world was not flat when I flew from Toronto to Singapore in 2 different directions, both east and west. Before that, I have this concept that the earth is round and accepted it through the overwhelming evidence presented to me. Maybe we should get some flat earthers on some planes and throw them around the globe. I reached the age of 3 and my big sister told me the earth was a sphere. It shocked me, because maps were flat, but then she showed a globe at the library and it blew my mind. I look back at my 3 years as a flat earther as the dark ages. What irritates me the most about flat earthers is that their theory is very northern hemisphere oriented. All the millions who live in the southern hemisphere, including myself, are relegated to having our countries smeared into ridiculous elongated shapes out along their silly ice wall. And if the earth is flat, why can't I see the North Star, Polaris, at night? I guess we don't really exist. I never get their argument that NASA, the government, are lying to us about the earth being round. I don't doubt that governments lie to the population. But why waste time, resources, effort just to hide that the earth is flat? What's the motive or gain for the government? I grew up in a small town in the middle of the desert that had a large percentage of scientists and engineers in the population, since the town only existed because of the adjoining military research and testing facility. This was back in the early mid-80s and the local radio station had a little talk show thing they did one night each week. One week they had a guy come in from the local chapter of the Flat Earth Society and explain what they were about. At first I thought he was the biggest idiot in the history of humanity, but as he got further into the discussion it became apparent that they were basically a social club that existed as an excuse to get together once a week and drink beers while telling each other about the importance of skepticism within the scientific community. I chuckled to myself about, then went back to playing games on my Commodore 64. Thinking nothing else of it. Fast forward about 30 years and the Flat Earth Society was back on the radar, but with a lot more members and none of them seemed to get the joke. So how do flat earthers explain all the ocean water not running off the side of the earth or whatever? And where do they think the edge of the earth is? Ice walls keep the water from falling off. Friend son is a flat earther. I don't know where the edge is though, and I'm not game to ask him, as I'd get a multi-hour diatribe about every conspiracy theory known to the human race. I built a flying device to take picture of the other side of the disc, but I forgot to remove the camera cap. Therefore I did not got any picture of the 4 elephants, and couldn't figure the gender of the turtle. What a disappointing waste of time. What made me realize that the earth is not flat is that my dad is freaking insane and took advantage of my naive 12-year-old brain. I'm pretty sure that if you're a flat earther past the age of 7 or so, then that level of stupidity is irreversible and you're flat earther for life. As a kid I just couldn't fathom how our planet could be round. So not a flat earther per se, just a kid. We were on a road trip in the middle of nowhere along the sea one time, and I was looking out the window. The sea was totally vast and empty. After staring at it for so long, I saw that the horizon was actually curved. We should use this unfortunate episode in our evolution to cover ridiculous conspiracy theories in general. More specifically, to cover how insanely convincing people can make these things seem. Some dude, is it true the US faked the moon landing? Me, the earth is flat, dude. The fact that not a single top-level comment is a reformed flat earther responding to the question is a testament to how stubbornly idiotic they are. Well, it's more of a disc really, one which is propped up on the backs of 4 elephants, which in turn are riding on the back of a giant space turtle. You know, I was student teaching 1st grade, and we were discussing Earth, when one child raises her hand and says, "My mommy says the earth is flat." I took a second to assess that she truly, indeed, said what she said, walked over to a globe and grabbed it, brought it over, and said, "Is this flat?" She said it wasn't, and I said, "Well, this is the shape of the earth. So I'm sorry sweetie, but your mom is wrong." She kinda looked at me then the globe, then said, "Oh okay, problem solved." I'm convinced that almost nobody is a flat earther and everyone's just in on the joke. I'm probably wrong, but I hate the implications to humanity if it was anything else, and I like to be blind. When I was a kid I could tell by the sky, it's not flat at the furthest view of the land, and other facts that make sense cause it's not freaking flat, come on. The thing I don't get about flat earthers is if they believe this planet is flat, then why doesn't gravity work the same when blowing a bubble? It should come out rectangular and flat, right? If the laws of gravity work the same in space as it does here. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.